My name's Anthony Merk. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm here today to brag on what Jesus has done in my life. I want to give you some background information on myself. I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. I met my wife Sandra at Barringer High School in Newark back in 1987, my senior year. 1977, my senior year. And later on we got married March 23rd, 1985. And Sandra was raised in the church. I wasn't, so she made a mistake by marrying someone unequally yoked. So the first 2 years of our marriage were devastating. I was still out in the world, and she was panicking. She didn't know what to do with me. So she was 8 months pregnant to Christopher, my oldest son. That was back in 1987. And one day she decided she was going to leave me and, start new with Chris. And she didn't know what to do with me anymore. So that night when she opened up her Bible, she opened it to Psalm 27, verse 14, which says, "Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord." So she took this as a message. She said, all right, I'm going to wait. I'm going to give it time. So shortly after that, the Lord dealt with me. I got saved. Our life got much better. And thankfully, he intervened there and kept us together. So I want to fast forward to September 2011. I was working in the pest control industry. I had my own pest control company. And mid-September 2011, my wife gives me a call and says, "Anthony, come home. I got to talk to you." So I get home, and she sits me down and says, "I have cancer." So it's like a sucker punch when you get hit with that from a loved one. She had breast cancer. She had a massive 4.5 centimeter tumor in her right breast. She had to go in for major surgery. So we go in for the surgery. The surgery goes well, but it's rough. She's in bad shape. We get her home. She recovers. And then she has to go in for 8 rounds of chemotherapy and then 37 rounds of radiation treatment. So we go for the first chemo treatment. It seemed like everything went well. She went to work. She had it on a Thursday she went to work, Saturday. And she came home from work and she just collapsed on the sofa, didn't even take her coat off. I said, what could this be? So I waited till Monday morning to call the doctor. That was a big mistake. And the doctor said, "Get her in here right now." We went to our oncologist, Dr. Vazzaretti, and she got in my face and said, "Didn't I tell you if she gets a fever or she's anything like this, you bring her to the emergency room?" I just shut my mouth, and they diagnosed her with a massive case of MRSA, which is a massive infection. So she stayed in the hospital 18 days, and they gave her the most powerful antibiotic. Well, then it was the most powerful, called vancomycin. They said, if this doesn't work, there's nothing else we can do for her. She would have died. So the only way, she was in the 18 days, the only way to get her out was if I learned how to administer an IV. I said, sure, I'll learn. So the nurse came to our house, taught me how to give her the IV, and I had to continue the treatments for another, I believe, 12 days. And we got through that. And basically, the vancomycin was okay, got her through it, and then we had to do the chemotherapy. She did the 8 rounds of chemo. She did the 37 rounds of radiation. And that was 11 years ago. And I know that That's the second time that the Lord has stepped in to my life and made the move to get us through it. So we fast forward to August 20th, 2021. My oldest son, Christopher, who, by the way, is a Lighthouse Point police officer, recently promoted to corporal. I have another son, Anthony, who is 32 years old. Chris is 35, Anthony's 32. Anthony just served 5 years in the Marine Corps and received the Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal for superior performance as airframe mechanic and safety manager. I'm bragging about them a little bit. That's another blessing for another day. And we fast forward to August 20th, 2021. I have two daughter-in-laws. Chris is married to Lindsay. Anthony is married to Aya. Anthony actually was deployed in Japan, and he married a Japanese girl, so he's leaving December 6th to go back to be with his wife. So August 20th, Lindsay is 8 months pregnant. I'm sorry, Lindsay is 7 months pregnant. And everything's going great. So we get to August 20th, she's 51 days out from giving birth. And Chris calls the house because he's leaving work at Lighthouse Point to come home. And he said she just didn't sound right over the phone. So he puts on the camera he has in the living room, and Lindsay's on the floor convulsing, violent convulsions. So Chris immediately calls 911, tells him get over there, bring the fire department. If you have to break the door down, go in. But Chris's mother-in-law was around the corner, was able to get there and open the door for them. And they were able to get Lindsay to the hospital. It happens to women with, after 20 weeks of pregnancy, something called preeclampsia. It's a hypertensive disorder of pregnancy and can be a devastating disease made worse by delays in diagnosis or management, seriously impacting or even killing both women and their babies before, during, or after birth. So they got Lindsay to the hospital. They got her stabilized and had to do an emergency C-section. So they had to get our grandson out immediately, stabilize Lindsay and get her treatment. So Henry's born, 3.5 pounds, 51 days premature. He's so tiny, and he stayed in the hospital for 4 weeks in the ICU. Lindsay stayed in about a week, and they got her stabilized and back, and she got fully back to health. And the sad thing about this is, the great thing about this is that going back to Sandra, when she was going through the MRSA and all that infection, she told me the only prayer she had for the Lord was, please don't let me die. I want to hold my grandchild. So, the first picture that Pastor is going to put up is Sandra, and Sandra holding her grandchild. The prayer was answered. Faithful God. The second picture Pastor's going to put up is Lindsay and Henry at Henry's 1-year-old birthday party. So the testimony is, all these times in my life, the Lord has intervened, and He's been faithful. And here we all are, safe and healthy. My marriage is intact. God keeps blessing me. Praise Him, church. He's a faithful God.